let me start with you. Are we right to be forecasting the end of the religious right as a powerful force in partisan politics?
And I think the answer is yes. But first, I want to thank you for setting this up. Will is a wonderful person. I can't tell whether I enjoy more arguing with Will or agreeing with Will, but they're both a lot of fun. And thanks. It's an honor to be with Amy and Mike. I am proud of my blurb on the back of Amy's book. It's a very important book. And I hope somebody likes mine too. It's very true to say those things. I think the evidence for the decline of the religious right is ample, and I think it's important to figure out what you mean when you say the decline of the religious right. To be Clintonian about it, it depends on what the meaning of the religious right is. I think I define it not as evangelical conservatism. There will be evangelical conservatives for a long time. In many ways, their movement is thriving, or if you will, theologically conservative evangelicals. But I think the specific institutions associated with the religious right, which were largely partisan and ideological in inspiration, first Moral Majority and then the Christian Coalition, are on the decline. And I'll be brief just to offer a packet of reasons why I believe that. Reason number one is that if you look at the 2008 Republican primaries, the leaders of these organizations could not deliver on behalf of any of the candidates they endorsed. The two remaining candidates on the Republican side were John McCain, who had the active hostility of many of these leaders and very little formal support, and Mike Huckabee, who won a lot of evangelical votes without any support from the older religious right leaders. I view Huckabee as having one foot in the old religious right and one foot in the new dispensation. He was as much an evangelical populist as he was an evangelical conservative, even though I still don't think too much of that tax plan of his. But he talked a great deal about those who were suffering in the economy. He talked a lot about education. He talks a lot about healthcare. The candidates who had support of many of these leaders, Fred Thompson, Mitt Romney, and Rudy Giuliani had the endorsement of Pat Robertson, who, as far as I can tell, performed no particular miracles for Rudy in this election, failed. So I think even within the Republican Party, that is the religious right's home, its influence is on the decline. And secondly, you have the rise of a series of evangelical leaders who explicitly reject a narrow partisan and ideological approach to the link between religion and public life. I talk in the book, as does Amy, in her book, about Rich Cizik, who has moved the National Association of Evangelicals against a lot of opposition from some of the old conservative religious right into the forefront in the battle against global warming, which evangelicals refer to appropriately, and not just evangelicals, as creation care. Rick Warren, who is certainly conservative when it comes to social issues, has insisted that the conservative agenda is about more than simply the issues of gay marriage and abortion, even though he is, in conventional terms, conservative on those issues. The episode that I always enjoy, because of the Rick Warren quote that it produced, is when he invited Senator Sam Brownback to his church, and he invited Barack Obama to his church. He got a lot of grief from political conservatives for inviting Barack Obama, and Rick Warren was asked by ABC News about why he did this, and he said, people all the time ask me if I'm right-wing or left-wing. Actually, I'm for the whole bird. And I think what you're seeing is the rise of whole bird Christianity, which is quite different from the old religious right. Lastly, and then I'll kick it over to my colleagues, I think there are times in our history when cultural and religious issues are more important than times when they recede in the face of major crises. They never go away. Religion never disappears from American politics. The example I like to use is 1928, the 1928 election, which I covered, but Amy and Mike and Will were too young to be involved in that. It was really about two big issues. One, should we elect the first Catholic president, Al Smith? And should we continue our national experiment with prohibition? And the Catholics lost, prohibition won. And then October 29th, October 29th, 1929, the Great Crash, and then the Great Depression. And suddenly the question of whether you could drink booze or not receded in importance in the face of the national catastrophe. And we entered a new period where, again, religion didn't disappear, but it declined as religion and culture declined as central issues. From 1932 to 1980, we went through a much more secular period. Then began the rise of the religious right. I believe this next period will be dated 1980 to 2008. We are looking at an era when even very religious, very conservative voters will be casting ballots more on the basis of other issues, the economic problems we face, the threats to our national security, the war in Iraq. And so I think for all these reasons, you are watching the decline of the religious right. And I haven't even talked about the rise of the religious left, but when it gets to Amy, I hope that she can pick up the story and also dissent in part if she wishes, and might dissent from the whole account.
Thank you, Jay. Amy?